Do you want to come up? Itchy place. Hello. Say hi, Jeff, wherever you are. You're going to use the computer? You're going to use the computer? Boom. Here he.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, there you are.
And how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. All right.
Good. I've recovered from getting flu and COVID shot on Saturday.
Oh, I got a COVID shot too on last Wednesday. Did you have any effects from the dual shot?
Knocked the hell out of me.
Ah, really?
I was down for the count on Sunday. Well, you know, I
Yeah.
wasn't sick, but I felt lousy. I didn't feel well.
Well, that's a double whammy. I mean, and now is just what, 3 days later?
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty quick to recover, actually.
I'm still feeling it a little bit, but I am mostly recovered at this point. Yeah.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think that I didn't used to get much problem at all. So I think part of it is age.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, I got just the COVID on last Wednesday. I actually felt my arm was sore for like 3 days. Not tremendously, but enough to be annoying. And
yeah,
that was because I had gotten the other COVID shots and boosters and all, and I didn't. I had very minor problems, but this one left me a little bit sore for a couple of days for
yeah,
some reason. Maybe
yeah.
it's some, this is a little bit more of a strong vaccine. You
I
know?
think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
my left arm's still a little sore. My right's pretty well recovered.
Right. Oh, did you get the separate shots in each arm? Is that how you did
Yeah,
it? Oh,
I
okay.
do one in each arm.
Oh, okay. I don't. I didn't get the regular flu shot. I just got the COVID.
Yeah. Hey, you got to get them at some point. We wanted to get them before we travel in November. So
Right. Well, if you're gonna get them early in the season. You know,
yeah,
go get them early in the season and be covered. Make it worthwhile to be covered for longer.
yeah, and I think it's important for me to get them. I have a couple of health issues that could
Oh
be
yeah,
aggravated. So
yeah. I'm sort of borderline on whether I should get the regular flu shot or not. I think I may have actually already had the flu a few weeks ago. I don't know if you remember. I may not even have told you, but I had a couple rough days where I
yeah,
was sick, and so I may have already had the seasonal flu. I don't even know, but we'll see.
well, I think it's worth getting. Uh,
Yeah,
it's having years and years and years and years ago when I didn't have the flu shot.
right.
I had a really bad case of flu.
Yeah.
I never want it again. So I guess that made me really decide I would get the shots and just
I think it's a smart move for you for sure. And I may get the regular one. I haven't decided for sure yet, but I didn't want a chance to getting them together because I couldn't be down for any days as far as taking care of Jesse and working and everything I
yeah,
had to do. So I think I get one now, and I'll see how I feel
yeah,
about getting.
yeah. Well, I can understand that.
Yeah, but I especially wanted to get the COVID one because we're traveling very soon. We're going to see, my parents. We're going to see you. We're going to be on an airplane. I go to a gym 4 times a week. I'm in a gym, and I've started not wearing a mask there now. So I wanted to be covered from that.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
glad we did.
you
Kate
know,
did also. Kate got it also.
yeah, they say that the airport is more of a problem than the airplane
Really? That's it.
because on the most of the planes, at least on the larger companies, they have really upgraded the ventilation systems, so they really make a difference.
Right. I like to think that's true. I mean, we have no way of knowing for sure, but I like to think that's true that the airplanes themselves have
Yeah,
top of the line ventilation.
but I still wear a mask on the plane.
Yeah, I'm actually going to also, and I'm going to have Jesse wear one as much as possible on the plane, also on the plane itself, because
Yeah,
it's just it's just like an incubator, really. I
yeah,
mean, whatever's in there can just travel through the whole thing. There's nowhere for it to go. I just feel claustrophobic enough already in there
yeah,
without having to deal with my concerns about catching flu or anything else. But I'm just for both Kate and mine's sake, I feel good that we got the COVID shot. I'm reading more and more about it. It's coming on fairly strongly now as far as spreading and all, and
yep,
you know, better safe than sorry. I don't have a problem with that vaccine,
yeah.
but some people.
Yeah. So Bill's back in this country, but he's not going to join us today. I
Right,
guess, he got in late last night and he's recovering.
right, okay,
So,
all right. Well, I'm ready for whatever you got.
well, I'm going to take us on.
Okay.
So, to begin with, any questions?
Nothing specific right now. I'm getting more comfortable with the 8 gates now that we've focused on that and you've done the close-up video that I can follow. I still need more practice on it. My practice time is limited, and I usually kind of do more of the form than that. But I did focus on that a little bit more this week. So I'm getting more comfortable with as far as the hand rotation and trying to move from the elbows and the scapula and all. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm making a little bit of progress there anyways.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. And are you feeling good about the form where you are at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to start learning about integrating the twisting into it,
Okay.
assuming that we're going forward with that next.
Yeah, we're gonna. That's where I want to go today.
Yeah.
Um, Twisting is one of the primary internal elements focused on moving the chi in the body. Um, and I'm probably going to repeat some things you've heard before, but I'm going to repeat them anyway.
No, that's good. You can repeat as many times as you want.
I know. I feel exactly the same way, Jeff. The repetitions have helped me along the way.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely. Each time you hear something, you don't fully retain it. You retain parts of it. So
yep.
the more I hear it, the more I will retain.
So when we talk about twisting, we're talking about using the mind intent and the energy to rotate the soft tissue around the bones, but it also moves the bones and it moves the muscles. So it doesn't mean that it's a motionless element that you're working on. It creates, visually, it creates almost exactly the same thing as turning or rotating, which is the first stage, which is a muscular movement, as we know. However, it's different because twisting inward draws energy into the body from the from all of the extremities. In other words, from the crown of the head, from the fingertips, from the toes into the center, and outward twisting sends the energy out. And it's a primary element in every internal art. Tai Chi, Bagua, Xing Yi, Qigong, and many, many, many others. One of the things about twisting is that in the arms, you obviously have two possibilities. We're always talking in twisting about the movement in relation to the center line of the body, the spine, if you will. And so with the arm, it has a lot of flexibility and it's only attached at one end. When we get to the legs, they're attached at both ends and it becomes really a different issue. The arms can rotate in two different ways. We can think about focusing on the little finger edge of the arm, and we talk about the edge of the hand just because that's a good way to define it. But we're talking about the whole arm all the way to the spine eventually. But what I'm doing at the moment would be the little finger edge twisting in towards the spine and the little finger edge twisting out away from the spine. But I could also twist the thumb edge away from the spine and the thumb edge in towards the spine. And both of those work in the same way in terms of what they do in terms of moving the energy. So you have to be very clear in your mind about which one you're focusing on. And when we're doing Qigong, most of the time that's you can be pretty it's much easier because usually both arms are doing the same thing. Usually you don't change what you're doing. For instance, in the 8 gates, we're focusing on the little finger edge in every movement except the transition from Qian to Kun, where we're focusing on the thumb edge. It's the only one in that where we're focusing on the thumb. But it's good that we have that because it gives us a chance, even in one movement, to be aware of changing our focus. So we always start with the arms because that's the easiest place to work on this to begin with. You feel it more easily in the arms. There is less tendency to do anything where you might hurt the body in any way, which reminds us that in doing twisting, like everything else, we really want to pay attention to the 70% rule, because going beyond that can cause negative effects, particularly in the legs. In the arms, it's not quite so much of a problem. Certainly, when you get twisting to move through the entire arm and scapula to the spine, it affects the neck and the shoulder and the back. And if done to an extreme, there is the kind of remote possibility that you might dislocate a vertebra. That's pretty unlikely, almost never occurs, but it is simply a caution in terms of not overdoing. So really, I think what I want to begin with is just going sort of back to the beginning for a moment and just thinking about all of this and beginning to play with it. So I don't think we have any difficulty in thinking about turning the arm. It's a muscular movement. We do this, we turn the arm all day long. It's part of our natural movement. We don't think about it even. But it is the first stage. When we begin to get into twisting, we have to really start by breaking the arm. No, let's not break the arm.
Oh, let's not do that.
Thinking about the arm in segments. So we start with the forearm because that's the easiest part. And one of the things you can do even as an individual is just simply take a hold of your forearm and move the soft tissue around the arm and feel what that does. And try to really release all the tension in the arm. Just, you want to have the sense of what that feels like to have it move and not be done solely by the muscles. So just being aware of what does that feel like? What does that do? Is a beginning. Also, when you want to get into twisting, when you begin to think about twisting, one of the things to do is to think of it there being a line through the center of your arm that starts with the tip of your middle finger, so that everything in the arm is going to rotate around that point when you twist. And twisting, like so many other things that we work on, is something that completely different from stretching, where you have to allow yourself to release those muscles and begin to really focus your intent on being able to twist in and twist out. Now, I think when you begin, sometimes it is really because we've worked on bending and lengthening. Sometimes it helps to include those because you already know what those are. So you can twist and bend in and extend and twist out.
So when you originate your twisting intent, are you also originating it from the scapula?
Not at this point.
Not at this point. Where are we originating it from?
Your mind.
From the mind, and just letting the arms go with the energy.
Yep. And I really kind of suggest when you do this,
Yeah,
you create tension in the arms. So I really suggest if you can support an elbow and just do one arm,
okay.
let that forearm really relax. Let it really relax. You can't let it go limp because then nothing's happening.
Right.
But let it relax and release as much tension as possible. And then see if you can begin to get that twisting to happen. Now, one of the things I will say is that when you actually begin to twist, you don't get a lot of movement. So, in other words, I can demonstrate this and I can twist and go all the way through here. But I'll be honest with you, when I began twisting, I was moving like that.
Mm.
I could only actually feel the twisting doing a little bit. So it's really, it's hard to describe verbally in a way that I think you can, that makes much sense. The one image that Bruce likes to use, that it's like, in a very broad sense, well, there are two things. One is that it's somewhat like the difference when you are wanting to squeeze the water out of a wet towel. If you just pull it, stretch it,
Right.
not a lot happens. But if you twist it,
Right.
then something is moved.
Mm.
Also, the feeling that you get is much like if you have a rubber band and you twist it and you can feel it want to untwist.
Mm.
So twisting tends to go one way and then the other, and it's very smooth. One of the things is when you come, um, is you can feel my arm, and you can feel the difference.
Okay.
Um, there's no way you can do that on Zoom.
Right.
Just doesn't work. Um, so really, you have to just begin to try to really see if you can get that sense of releasing and allowing that turning of the soft tissue. And it starts from the skin, it moves through the muscles, it moves through the tendons and ligaments and fascia eventually. It doesn't actually go into the bones,
Right.
which is where the side and central channels are in the arms. It's moving around the bones.
Okay. One other question I have would I don't understand yet why you're differentiating between moving, focusing on the little finger rotating first versus rotating on the thumbs first. Why is there a difference in doing that
Um,
other than the direction that you're going?
because the direction changes what happens with the energy.
Meaning spiraling in or out.
You're not spiraling, you're just moving it in and out at this point.
Okay.
Spiraling is another whole level of practice.
Okay. I assumed since we're actually rotating everything in the twisting that the energy was also following that same direction, whether out or in.
It is, but it's moving at this point in a more linear fashion.
Okay.
It may be moving around, but it's not actually spiraling yet.
Okay.
That really is another whole level of practice.
Okay.
Um, but the difference is that if if you are focused on the wrong edge, you move
Yeah.
the energy in the wrong way. Your intent moves the energy in the wrong way.
Okay.
So, just for instance, um, you've come to Pung, and the
Hmm.
little finger edge has twisted out. You're going to go to G, and you focus on the thumb edge, and it goes out. It didn't go in. And then it goes in as you're pushing in G. That's totally opposite from the energy you're trying to develop. So if you don't clearly determine in your own mind which you're following at any given point, you actually can reverse the energy that you're trying to project.
Mm. Okay.
So in the form, in this form, most of the time the little finger edge is leading, but not all of the time.
Right.
So, but also in this form, initially we think about the energy being pretty much the same. It actually isn't, but it's adding too much complication to try to um, make those separations. I think at this point.
Okay. what is the basic reason, or is there a basic reason?
I,
What is the basic reason, or is there a reason that what you just said is that in this form, the little finger leads most of the time? What is the reason that that happens?
it just does because that's how it aligns with the movement.
All right, so it's just a specific pot. It's not the intent or anything of the form as a whole. It's the particular postures that we are going through are
Oh,
more geared
it's
towards.
it's you have to assess every movement
Okay,
and make up your mind about. I mean, I can give you an idea, but maybe you have a different one. That's possible.
right,
So um, the obviously the eight gates is a really easy place to begin to focus on this,
right,
and really trying to let go of it just being a physical movement.
yeah,
Um, and also recognizing that initially maybe you're only twisting the forearms.
right,
Uh, you, I think, I guess I would say that you probably, as an individual,
yeah,
um, have the potential to progress pretty quickly because you've done some of this before,
right.
even
It's been
though,
a long time, but what I do recall, David, is that I never really had a lot of success with twisting and feeling it in my legs. I was mostly focused on my arms and made progress with my arms. And this is many years ago, of course, but I
yeah,
never, and throughout my whole Tai Chi life, my legs have always been, I would say, not real sensitive to energy, no matter what we're doing. I've
yeah,
been much more better, much more sensitive and aware on my upper body.
yeah. And that's pretty common with most students.
Okay.
But it is more important to feel the energy in your legs than it is in the arms
Okay.
because the legs move 10 times as much energy as the arms.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And our problem is a combination of things. We stand on our legs, so we just put the weight and the tension into them, and it's very hard to learn to relax the legs.
Right.
And in addition to that, we have this energy that's pulling us downward,
Yeah.
which puts another emphasis on our legs that is not necessarily helpful. It can be when you can learn to allow that, but it's as much as we talk about learning to relax the shoulders, learning to relax the hips and the thighs and the knees and the calves and the ankles is even more important
Right.
and more difficult.
Definitely more difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not belittling that. And it took me many years to really feel the twisting in my legs.
Huh.
This was not a quick,
Right.
for me, I will say. I don't think that means that it has to take everybody that long,
Right.
but I had the same, probably the same issues in a way that you do.
Hmm. Okay.
But for instance, now I have no problem feeling twisting in my legs.
Hmm.
I mean, it's clear.
Right.
Um, I do some things every day as part of my normal daily stretching and warm up, um,
Yeah.
which includes twisting.
Right.
And um, because probably because I was going to go into twisting today. I really was thinking and feeling it this morning that how easily how easy that is for me now, and how hard it was in the past.
Right. Right.
So um, you just have to keep trying to release and allow that to happen.
Right.
We get so focused on the arms because they're up there in front of our eyes and we can see them, and we
Right.
think of our hands and arms as being so important, but actually our legs are more important.
Hmm.
They support us. We move on them.
Right.
Um, it's how we connect to the earth.
Yeah.
So that's part of why you ideally take a bit of time before you do a gates or before you go into a flow and really feel the energetic connection through your legs to the earth.
But do you, in trying to establish that connection, do you focus on trying to open the bubbling well and any other points,
Sure.
uh, flowing points?
Well, there's the bubbling well and Shimian, which is the point at the heel, at the base of the heel. And those are the two primary points on the bottom of the foot. There's
Right.
also a point in the center of the foot, um, which controls the flow in both directions, actually.
Huh. Okay.
But the the shimian at your heel is the primary point where the energy drops into the earth, where we release into the earth,
Right.
and the bubbling well is the principal point where the energy rises from the earth.
So the shimmy on, is that like at the very end of the heel, like where the
Yes.
heel bone would be?
Yes.
Okay. So that's something I've never actually focused on, that particular point. Always with my foot and establishing root and all that, I've always thought in terms of the bubbling well because it's more or less central, almost
Yeah.
central, and
And
it's the point at which everything spreads out from.
yep. And we that is how we begin.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I don't know how much we've talked about that, but there is actually a continuous, very subtle shift of pressure from the bubbling well to Shimian.
Right.
We constantly go back and forth.
Right.
So when you want energy to rise in the body, your weight should be more towards bubbling well,
Right.
or Zhongchuan. When you want the energy to sink into the earth, it should be more towards Ximian.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Without ever going back on your heels physically. You know that
Absolutely.
that's
The movement is really the movement back and forth is at the Dantian.
mm,
That's how the weight shifts. And
right.
it's very subtle,
Right.
but it makes a big difference in the movement of the energy.
Mm,
Um, and if you think about trying to think about a good place in the form to think about. Well, one of the reasons why in the Wu style, um, Master Wu developed this follow step is you when you place that correctly, you can stabilize your structure, but also really focus the rising energy. And the rising energy coming up when you go to really to any of those, when you go to that final position, the energy rises from that toe connection, the
You're
ball of
talking
the foot.
about follow and focus. You're talking about, right?
Yeah. So when you're at that point, that's where that energy that you're expressing at this point is rising from the ball of the foot.
Oh, okay.
And the other foot, the energy should be dropping through the heel because that's how you stabilize your structure.
Right. Huh. Okay.
So, for instance, when you get to that point of, say, follow and focus, which is a clear spot, you don't want to be with the weight towards both toes because
Oh,
you would be so easily uprooted.
right. The energy on both legs is going up, and so an opponent theoretically could
Yeah.
uproot you very easily because you're already going in that direction.
Yep. Yep.
Huh. Okay.
So we've added to
Not on a tangent. I understand.
what?
We've gone on a tangent. I understand.
Yeah, we have.
It's all pretty fascinating, actually.
So one thing I wanted to mention, if you're when you are working on twisting in the legs,
Hmm.
because the legs are usually attached at the hip and at the foot to the ground, um, they're not they're not physically moving. The soft tissue is moving around the bone, but you have to be particularly careful. That's when you get into twisting in the legs, you have to be particularly careful that you do not try to twist the knee joint
Yeah.
because it don't twist, it bends.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't
I'm
twist.
trying to be extremely mindful of my knees at this stage in my life in particular.
Yeah. So the twisting that goes on passing through the knee happens in the back of the knee,
Hmm. Okay.
in the soft tissue in the back of the knee.
Okay.
So anyway, it is certainly basically recommended that you work on twisting the arms until you can clearly feel twisting through, at least through the scapula, if not yet to the spine,
Right.
before you really focus on the legs.
Yep.
Because if you can clearly feel it through the whole arm, it will be easier to feel it in the leg.
Right. Right.
Um,
It's really making that bridge, being able to cross that bridge from moving everything muscularly versus energetically,
yep.
make that big transition. And that's, it's a quantum leap in some ways, especially in my legs, I feel. But
Yeah.
I know I've experienced it in the past. It's been a long time, but I remember working on this and making little breakthroughs with it. So
Yeah.
it's trying to get back to that.
Good. So, I guess one of the things we can, do a little movement here. I'm not sure where we are in time.
Yeah.
We've done a
What
lot
do
of
you want to
talking.
do it? Do you want to just like try and do this with just the eight gates today?
Yeah, that's my thought.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with that.
Um, I mean, we could look at the beginning of the form, but uh,
However you want to do it. As you said earlier, trying to initially do it with the eight gates is easier because it's just there's not movement back and forth. It's both sides at the same time, and you
yep,
know,
I think it's important to do that
yeah,
so we can start there.
yeah,
Um, we've talked about it all along, so it's not there's nothing here that's new or strange,
right,
other than we want to try to let go of just muscularly moving and begin to, as you say, bring our intent into it and energetically move.
right. That's always the challenge of Tai Chi versus our normal lives is relaxing, but moving from that relaxation instead of the muscles, which is what we do all the rest of the time we're alive, basically.
Yep.
That's
Until we learn that we can also do that in our lives.
right, right,
So when you begin, one of the things that you can uh, just start with is knowing that your intent is going to be focused on the little finger edges.
right,
So just as you stand, before you actually begin to move, you can begin to twist in and twist out, even if you're just doing a very, very small movement, but really beginning to just let yourself completely, or as completely as you can, let go of just turning the arms and see if you can just find a little bit of twisting. I might say that eventually this is also related to closing and opening. And then when you're ready to begin, you close, you twist in, and then as you begin to sink into that left foot, you twist out and step, and then you twist in and twist out. And then you're going to twist in and twist out. And the movements don't have to be large. As we go into this transition, the thumb edge twists in and then twists out. And then we go back to the little finger edge, twisting in and twisting out. And we want to hold on to the bending and extending that we were doing before and the lengthening. And then twisting in, twisting out, in, out. And the ideal, of course, is that the twisting is as continuous as the bending and stretching and the lengthening. And you're twisting in, twisting out, in and out. Weight on the bubbling well, weight towards Xiang. Twisting in, twisting out, twisting in, twisting out. Twisting in, twisting out, in and out, and in and out. Twisting in, twisting out, in and out. Twisting in, twisting out, in and out, in and out. Twisting in, twisting out, twisting in, twisting out. Questions there, Jeff?
Question and a comment. Um, Question, so that I don't forget it, is that um, now before you said something earlier in our movements here that we're doing the twisting, but we're also still thinking about the bending and the stretching and all that.
Yep.
Yet a little while ago, you said at this point, as far as the twisting, we're really just trying to focus on just the forearm for the moment. But I'm, in trying to do initially doing the twisting like we are now, but still doing the bending and stretching where we're thinking about extending all the way from the scapula and all. It's kind of, I have a hard time. I guess I just tried to let go of thinking about extending from there and focused more on this flow on just the twisting from here, but I still could not do that without thinking about just the whole arm twisting. Is that okay? Is that going to hinder me?
Stop thinking.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
but with the intent, you say we have to twist bait originating from intent. So I have to. My intent is trying to focus on what I want to do with the moving the energy. Letting go of the muscle and moving the energy. So I do have to think about my intent in that. At least at this stage, I have to.
And you have to think about the twisting. You should be able to, if you've practiced enough, you
Yeah.
should be able to do the bending and stretching and lengthening without thinking.
Well, that's basically what I'm saying. Is I didn't want to. I was continuing to do that just naturally. As
Yeah.
far as bending and stretching and extending and all. I was doing that naturally while I was doing this, but I didn't. I guess I was just wanted to make sure that continuing to do that and not focusing just on the smaller forearm movements wasn't going to hurt anything at this point as far as my feeling the energy movement in the stretching.
No, because no, you're not going to hurt anything. This is just a stage. So what you're going to do is you're going to work on twisting the forearms.
Right,
And if you feel that you can twist the forearms, then you start twisting the upper arm.
right,
And if you can do that, you put it together with the forearm and twist the whole arm.
okay,
And then you work on the shoulder, and then you work on the scapula, and then you work on getting to the spine.
right, okay,
And then you work on the legs. You do
right,
it one step at a time, you add it in, and you practice it until you don't have to think about it, and it's just happening.
right,
And and part of that is really focusing on feeling rather than thinking about.
right, okay,
And I understand that's hard to make that transition.
yeah, yeah. Um, and my comment is that in what we just did, I also tried to incorporate the subtle shifting from bubbling well to Shimian
Yeah.
based on the way we're drawing in or sending out. And I actually felt a significant difference when I was able to get that in line with what I was doing
Uh-huh.
and, and the
Good.
scratching the surface because I'm still focusing on learning the twisting and all. But in conjunction with my overall movements throughout the 8 gates, I just, even just isolating the shifting of the feet slightly in and of itself, I felt a difference from other flows I've done.
Good.
So the fact that you brought that up today, I think was significant for
Yeah.
me and I can consider and
Ultimately, it can be very significant. Yes, absolutely. And
just I could feel in doing that subtle shifting when I was able to incorporate it, but when I was able to do that, it just felt like an overall energy movement through my body more so than just upper body or lower body. I could
great.
feel a big circularity to it all. Um, and again, I was going in and out of that mode because I'm just touching base with this, but I did notice a big difference.
That's
So
great.
yeah, that's something for me to be aware of and work on moving forward, but it's something I'd never tried before.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad that was a help.
Yeah, I'm glad that came up. That was significant. I mean, I never even knew about the Shimian point. I mean, I knew there was other points other than the bubbling wells, I didn't know specifically what they were or where they were. So
Yep.
now that I do, and I know that that's the sending down point more so than the bubbling well bringing up,
Yep.
it's I felt something there for sure.
Good. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So
Good.
that's what I got.
um, do you want to do more, or is that?
No, I want to. I want to stop here with this in my mind and that last flow in my body and work on that.
Yeah, this is a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not ready to also today move that into the film yet.
So
So,
I will send you a fairly long handout on twisting
okay,
that goes into a little more detail. Also has some good, um, a little more description of practicing the segments of the arm might be helpful.
okay,
Um, and we talked a bit about not overdoing, but that's
yeah,
in there
percent.
too. So
Okay.
if you can take a few minutes and look through that, might be helpful.
Yeah, I will. Yep, definitely.
Okay.
All right, and I should be here for next week's class, but it is the day before we leave. So if things are particularly harried and I'm backed up on work, which I hopefully will not be, but if there's any problems, I'll let you know. But I do expect to be here online next week because we leave the next day. We leave the 4th.
Okay.
Um,
And then I'll see you the next week.
right. So I'll see you on the 10th.
Terrific.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Very much.
Okay.
All right,
Have a
David. Have
good
a good
week.
week. Take care.
You too.